right, this month in our Muay Thai class, we've been working a lot on two different types of footwork. Two of my favorite little footwork steps to set up my attacks. And although they're very similar, they're also very different too. I call them the slide step and the juke step. I want to just kind of go over them a little bit in detail here with Coach Bobby, and I want to also kind of point out some of the differences and kind of what makes each one unique and when I would do one versus the other. So let's take a look at them here. Okay, the first one we're going to focus on is the slide step. So with this one, I'm always moving to my stomach side. It doesn't matter if I'm southpaw or orthodox, wherever my stomach is pointing, that's the direction I'm going. And I'm always moving my back foot first. So my goal is to move my back foot first over to the side, and I want to get to an angle on Bobby. And I call it the slide because I tend to just kind of slide my front foot over. Okay, and my front foot, by sliding, it helps me to kind of correct my angle, correct my stance, so I never get too wide apart or too close together. For me personally, if I were to try to like jump over there, a lot of times you might jump and you might land at too narrow of a stance or too wide of a stance. So not only do I not like jumping, but if I jump, I end up landing at a weird position. However, when I kind of slide my foot, I can always seem to land in exactly the same stance, the same distance apart, the same angle that I started at. I can correct my stance so much easier. Now my goal here, when I'm starting off facing Bobby, is me and Bobby are facing each other. We're both in a neutral position. I can hit him, he can hit me. When I do my slide step, I get to a position now where I'm facing him, and for a little moment in time, he's not facing me. So I've got the advantage right now. I can land more power and more techniques than he can. Now, he can always turn and face me again, and then we're neutral. But because I have just a tiny little bit of a head start, a tiny bit of an advantage, when he turns to face me, I could always just slide again. So what I mean by that is maybe I slide over, he turns to face me, and I slide again. And in theory, as long as you're quick enough, you can always stay just one step ahead of your partner. That gives you the advantage here, okay? Now, with this slide step, I don't like doing it first. So what I mean by that is, I'm not a big fan of just being here, and I slide over, and then I attack. The reason is because he can do anything he wants to if I just slide first. He can try to punch me, try to kick me. He can really easily move to adjust. And I never really get that really good chance to capitalize and get that head start on him. So I personally do most of my slide steps after I attack and after I make my opponent shell up a little bit. My favorite analogy is like, imagine like a turtle, okay? Right here when we're fighting, he's moving around, he's kind of loose, he can kind of throw punches at me. If I can start punching at Bobby and I make him go into his turtle shell, he sucks his arms, his legs, his head, everything in that shell. Now he's stuck a little bit, okay? And most turtles will kind of hide there for a little while before they start to pop out and kind of move around their environment. So I want to make him shell up. Once I see him shell up, now is when I angle over here. And now I've got that advantage where I can attack with a whole bunch of weapons and score a bunch of great techniques. Okay, with this slide step, one of the keys too is I got to really commit to my strikes. If I'm facing Bobby here and I'm just snapping my jab, that's probably not going to make him turtle up into that shell. But if I throw a really good significant jab cross, or even just a very hard cross, boom, there's a better chance that he kind of sucks everything in, he shells up, and again, now I've got the angle to attack. And it's got to be quick. If I take my time over there, again, he's just going to turn and face me. But if I hit him and I move and I hit him again, I can usually get one, maybe two strikes off before he's corrected that angle and he's facing me again. So I love doing this slide step. It creates a lot of opportunities, and again, for me, it gives me the chance to have the upper hand. I can now score. It's almost like having a free shot. I'm able to throw one or two punches, and he's not really able to do much at all. Now, one more thing that I'll do sometimes off this slide step is I'll post with my front arm, and I'll push on my partner. I'm going to move directions here. So again, if I can do something originally that makes Bobby shell up, I make him kind of hide here. When I slide, I'm going to use my front hand, and I'll slide. I'll start my slide, I should say. I start sliding, and then I'll post. And I like to kind of push with the palm of my hand right by his bicep, right by his elbow, and put some pressure on him. Now this is a great position right here because there's not a whole lot that he can do as long as I'm being strong. If he tries to punch me, he has a hard time punching me because I'm blocking, I'm shutting down this left arm, and I'm also killing his shoulder rotation. He's going to have a hard time rotating his shoulders and throwing his right hand at me. Boom. If he tries to turn into me and try to get out of that position, I can kind of hold him, and I can also, too, if he tries to turn into me, I can kind of slide a little bit more with him before I throw my attack. And from that position, I can do that post, and I can let go with my left hand and throw my cross, or I can let go with that front hand, and I can throw my low kick. Those are my two favorite options right there. Don't forget to let go, though. If I hold that post out there, you're going to have a hard time landing your cross. It kills the mobility of your shoulder. But if I let go with my front hand, now I can rotate and throw that punch. So again, I throw that jab cross first. Bang, bang. That makes him shell up. I don't like to grab him here first right away. I want to start my slide step. And as I start my slide step, now I've got the angle to post on him, push him away, and then I can let go and throw whatever strike I want to finish it up here. Okay? So those are some of the basics, the fundamentals behind my slide step, and some of my favorite ways to use it. Okay, next we're going to talk about our juke step. The juke step is very, very similar to the slide. However, rather than move both of my feet to the side, I'm only going to move one foot. Okay? So again, just to review, on the slide step, my back foot leads the way, and my front foot slides over, it slides to follow. On my juke step, I'm only moving my back foot initially. I like to move my head, I like to step over, move my back foot. I get him thinking that I'm moving this way. And then, off that back foot that I stepped with, now I explode off that back foot and I come back. And I prefer to do my juke step into my cross. Okay? A couple big key important pieces here for this first step. First off, I always imagine I've got like a spring on my foot. And as soon as my foot touches the ground, I'm going to bounce back. I don't want to juke over and then come here at the cross. It's too slow. So instead, touch the ground like it's a trampoline. I'm going to bounce right off that thing. I touch and I come back immediately. Okay? The second thing is make sure we're going to the side. We're not going backwards. I don't want to juke backwards and then throw my cross. I want to make him think I'm going to my right. So I juke to my right and then I'm coming back to my left. You'll also notice too, I do a little bit of a step with my front foot, but it happens during my punch, not before my punch. So again, slowing it down, I do my initial juke, that loads up my back leg. As I throw my cross, now my front foot does a little tiny step. It helps me get more body weight, more momentum, and more power into my punch. But what I see a lot of times is people do this initial juke and they lift their foot up. Or if they don't lift it up, it even slides a little bit. What I find is if I lift that foot or if I've got it light enough where it's sliding, that means I've got too much weight committed to my right foot. And if I have 100% of my body weight committed to my right leg, it's going to be slower and more labor intensive to bounce off that foot and come back with my strike. So what I try to focus on is when I do this initial juke step, yes, I'm putting body weight on my right leg. Yes, I'm trying to explode off that right foot, but I want to keep some weight here. So let's say, just for easy math here, let's say it's 70% weight on my right leg, 30% weight on my left. Because there's more weight on my left side, I'm not 100% committed that way. It allows me to change directions really fast. However, if I was 100% fully committed, all my body weight to my right, it's going to be slower and much more labor to get my body to change directions. And again, just like a football player, I want to be coming forward. I want to make them think I'm going right, and then I cut back, I juke back the other direction. That's kind of where I get this one from. I'm in front of Bobby here, I juke, and then I come back with my cross. And one of my favorite ways to do it is by crossing first. I throw my cross, and then as I pull it back, I do my juke step to set my second cross up. Just me personally, if I were to stay in one place and not do the juke step, I feel that my double cross, it's not slow, but there's some time in between. It'd be bang, bang. But I find when I add the juke step in there, it's a little bit closer together, okay? That little bit different timing might be the difference between him blocking it and him getting hit. And also that little bit of an angle with me moving my head and moving my feet might help to keep me safe from his attacks as well. It might even encourage him to really shell up and hide because he doesn't know where I'm going or where I'm coming from, okay? Those are some of the big key points that I look for when I'm working on my juke step. So play with them both, have some fun with them, and hopefully you can kind of add them into your arsenal. Yeah, they're fun ones, and I've had a lot of success with both of these steps to set up my cross, as well as other techniques as well. Give it a try.